Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Travis here. Had a question from John from El Paso. His question was his wild rags. He wanted to know what size are common, what the materials are, and what are the purposes of wild rags. Well, John, let me tell you. Wild rags have been around basically since the 1880s, and they're made out of basically silk, which is very soft material. And even though you see in Hollywood they are triangles, they actually come in squares like this. You can have from 30 inches being very small, the common being 36 inches by 36 inches, and large being 46 inches by 46 inches. You know, like, well, Travis, what's the matter with cotton? Well, you can use cotton, but the problem is when you got wrapped around your neck and it's sweaty, it's dusty out, and you start moving your neck left and right, your neck will start turning raw. And also wintertime, it's not as warm as silk. So around the 1880s, cowboys been using it, buckaroos been using it ever since that time all the way up to now. It was such a good thing that during World War I, the pilots flying them biplanes used to put the wild rag, also known as silk scarf, around their neck. And they noticed with their wool uniforms when they're flying their biplanes and they're looking left, looking up right, looking down low, looking behind them, looking for enemy, everywhere, they noticed that the silk was a good barrier from the wool uniforms that they had. It was good protection so they weren't scratching their neck all up and causing redness and soreness. So that was one of the great things that we still use today, and lessons learned from World War I and those pilots is how convenient silk scarves are versus cotton or other materials. They come in different colors, different patterns. This one is flowers. This one's got the old traditional swirly marks, Victorian times. And you can also have solid colors, whatever fits your personality. Whatever you like, you get. Design, color, so forth. The only thing is, I'd recommend, once again, the silk. Now, the purpose of them is that they could be used to cover your nose. In case you're at a branding fire and you're branding cattle. I'm going to tie a knot back here. You could use it to block the smoke. You could use it from the dust if you're riding drag on a trail. You could use it for COVID that we got going on nowadays. There's a lot of uses for a wild drag. You could use it at a campfire and you're cooking your victuals. And you got a hot handle on your cast iron. You could pick it up and not burn your hand. If it's hot out summertime, you take your wild rag, dip it down inside of a creek. Now it's wet. Put it around your neck, nice and cool for you. Emergencies, I could use it to stop bleeding. I could use it as a tourniquet. I could use it as a sling, having it tied up. Okay, put it here, tie it up around. Now I got a sling to mobilize my arm, use a proper first aid. Around horses, I could use as blindfold to cover the eyes of the horses for emergencies. There's a lot of stuff that we can use them for, but mainly this versatile piece of attire that we use it for is keep our neck warm, especially around wintertime. Doesn't matter if you're up and down the Rockies, it is cold. From Montana to Wyoming to Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada, Utah, some parts of Texas, you're going to be wanting this wild rag, okay? Now, there's several ways to wear a wild rag. One way is you can take it, place it underneath your neck like such, split the tails behind you, come around the front, and just create a simple square knot. And don't worry, folks, I'll cover the square knot here in a second. So this is one way to wear it. Covers your neck up nice and neat. The wind don't hit it, the snow doesn't hit it, and you can look around without creating irritation around your neck. So that's one way you can wear a wild rag. Well, Travis, what's another way to wear a wild rag? Well, you could do it just like the cavalry used to wear it back in the early days of riding horses with their blue uniforms, yellow scarves around their neck, or in this case, wild rags. They create that triangle. You just place the triangle right around the top of the shoulders. And they would just use this to be a comfortable way of having their wild rag handy for all the purposes that we already spoke about. And it was part of their uniform. Okay, so this is another way of wearing it. And don't worry, folks, once again, we will cover this knot. Well, I can tell you another way that you can use wild rag. You see this a lot in the movies with Clint Eastwood. This is, a lot of cowboys use this up in Montana. All you're going to do is grab a triangle. Instead of having a showing, you're just going to take a hand's width and fold it, hand width, all the way down to the bottom edge of your wild rag. Okay? Then you're going to take the short tail, place it around your left side, wrap the wild rag around your neck once, okay, and then twice, like such. Then what you're going to do is just tie the end of it and don't worry, folks, we'll cover this knot too. We're just going over the ways we can wear a wild rag. Tighten it up. Okay. And there you go. You got the Clint Eastwood look. Very warm, very handy, very convenient. All right, so now that we've covered the 3-4 different ways that we can actually wear a wild rag, now we're going to cover the basic knots, how to wear them and tie them so that they don't come undone. So the first one I want to cover is just the basic square knot. And it will look like this. I'm going to go back to the triangle where it's showing. Place it underneath my neck. Take the tails, run opposite direction of my neck, crisscross, and bring the tails back to the front. I'm going to take my left over right, bring it underneath like a pretzel. Now I'm going to take my right over my left. And then lock it down in place. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a square knot. To make it easier, this is what it's going to look like. Show you the square knot. So I'm going to take 2 different colors of square knots to help you out. I'm going to take my left, bring it over top to the right, come back through, creating the pretzel, crisscross. Now I'm going to take my right and go over top the left. When I pull it, I'm creating one locking bar here, and on the other side, another locking bar. These are traditionally used to tie 2 knots of equal diameter together. That's a square knot. Okay, moving on to the next knot. Next knot is nothing more than the Windsor tie knot. And believe me, if you've been around horses long enough, you already know how to tie this because it's the same knot that you use to tie a cinch knot. That's what we're going to do for our wild rags. So to do this, I'm going to offset my wild rag, creating my left tail to be a little bit shorter. I'm going to take my longer tail and I'm going to go over top my short tail, swing it back up, and go straight down the locking bar that I created. That's just normal switch tie, cinch tie. Now, I could slide up in place, make sure my tails are correct, slide my wild rag back into place. And now, I am rocking and rolling with a knot that slides up and down, because all it is a tie knot. Same knot, ladies and gentlemen, that you use to tie up a cinch on your saddle. From the Latigo, matter of fact. All right, moving on next one. If you like this, please hit subscribe on my YouTube channel. It'd be much appreciated because we got more stuff to educate everybody on, because knowledge is power. Okay, the next knot we're going to talk about is the buckaroo knot, also known as the mustache knot. And we'll show you why Some people consider it the mustache knot. All right, sorry about that. I was getting choked to death here. All right. So I'm going to take my bigger 46 inch by 46 inch wild rag, and I'm going to place it over top of my back so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. What I'm going to do is take my fingers, join them together from scissors together, creating a pistol. I'm going to wrap my left tail around my fingers once, creating a tongue. Now I'm going to take my right tail, go underneath the tongue I created, bring the tail in between the crook of my arm, go behind my two strands, underneath like such. Now I'm going to take the strand I've been using to work with, go over top of the tongue. Now, the loop that had my pistol on my fingers, I'm going to grab my fingers, grab the running tail that I've been using, pull it through, and I'm going to draw everything down. Now, some people call it a four-way knot because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, four-way knot, otherwise known as a buckaroo knot. Now, if I'm wearing it, you can also see it looks like a mustache. So henceforth, a mustache knot. Okay, same knot a lot of cowboys use, buckaroos, to tie up their tail to keep it off the ground from the horse from stepping on if they got a nice beautiful tail. Okay, now in Hollywood, what a lot of cowboys would do, and you'd see them, is they would just take this buckaroo knot, flip it around backwards like such, and now you have this nice sideways knot tie. Okay, so this was another way. It's very convenient for a lot of cowboys in Hollywood to develop that knot. And that is the mustache knot, the buckaroo knot, and the Hollywood knot. So those are the basic ways that you wear wild rag, why we wear wild rag, what the sizes are, what the colors are, what the patterns are, and what your attitude is. So John, I hope this answers your question down there in El Paso. I hope the weather's great. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in on my channel. And remember, this isn't a problem no more because you're the solution. Thank you. Bye now.